Our existing economic model is falling apart at the seams anyway, and people are living in misery and doubt and chaos and confusion because it's just not working. It's not working. The whole thing is not working. Any society that can stand back while the Amazon jungle is burnt down at the sort of country-sized rate every year, this is an insane society. We obviously live in a demented society, completely insane.
Now, the problem with this is that it makes you feel bad to not be infected by cultural illusion because it's called alienation. The reason we feel alienated is because the society is infantile, trivial, and stupid. So the cost of sanity in this society is a certain level of alienation.
The laws of the United States and the programs government-sponsored concerning the use of addictive drugs are a total failure. Not only a total failure, but they're making the problem worse. They are so stupid that anyone supporting those laws must be either a moron or involved in the racket. It's that bad.
Well, the ideal is very clear. The ideal is a completely fragmented, atomized society where everyone's totally alone, doing nothing but trying to pursue created wants, and the wants are created. It's known that they're created. Nobody wants those things. You create wants. People are stuck with their television set or, their interactive, whatever it is. They're glued to this thing, and they're told what they want, and they have to want it. They don't have any connection with anyone else. You don't see anybody else. You don't deal with anyone else. You're an atom of consumption, and you go to work at lower and lower wages for more and more hours and less benefits and security in a flexible labor market. That's the kind of utopia that they're looking for, and it's not very far from there.
And this is why the drugs are so controversial, because they free you from the myth of the tribe.
Okay, so here we have a situation of what I consider to be a microcosm of everything that's going on. We basically have a police station to the left and a synagogue to the right. This is actually the situation at Eglinton and Allen Road in Toronto. That's where I am located. And basically, the police station symbolizes the fact that they are in the interest of protecting what goes on in a synagogue, or it may have been a hospital as well, right? But in this instance, this is actually what's happening here. There is a police station right across the street from a synagogue. And when I think of synagogue, I just basically think of genital mutilation and memorization of rhetoric and passing on of memes. The billboards are not really there, but we are surrounded obviously by advertising and abstraction. That's basically what advertising is all about. It's just telling you what you should be concerned with, and I guess in a nutshell, what I just have portrayed here is the fact that the police are looking to protect the interests the police are completely okay with genital mutilation, and then in the middle here we have a drug bust, right? And this is a situation every minute of every hour, all right? So we have constant abstraction, we have illegal possession of plants, all right? So if you're growing natural plants, you're going to be put in prison. If you want to have a baby boy treated like a vegetable in his first week of life, that is completely okay, and that is basically what I have illustrated in this video. Thank you.
First of all, on the input side, Western civilization has taken control of the consciousness of billions of people through the medium of television, projecting the ethic of Western culture, the consumerist. If I, as an individual, am not sovereign over my own consciousness, if I cannot decide what to do with my consciousness, which is the heart of my being, then I am not free. And I need not talk about freedom or living in a free society or such issues as democracy if my society will not allow me to explore my own consciousness. It's clear that our societies have an investment in preventing us from exploring where altered states of consciousness will lead us. Perhaps there's a deep fear that if we do explore those altered states of consciousness, we will not accept the power structures and the fairy tale illusion of material wealth that we're all brought up to pursue as though that's the only thing to existence.
The culture is a perversion. It fetishizes objects. It creates consumer mania. It preaches endless forms of false happiness, endless forms of false understanding in the form of swirly religions and silly cults. It invites people to diminish themselves and dehumanize themselves by behaving like machines, meme processors of memes passed down from Madison Avenue and Hollywood and what have you.
Funded with our money, our taxpayers' money, there has been 40 years of programming, more than 40 years, on this subject to make us all develop a kind of aversion, of a fear, a hatred, the horror of drugs. And this is, it's just fundamentally wrong in so many ways.
People do have preformed views which are not based on their own experience but simply what they've heard on the news media, and they haven't really paused to sit down and analyze these views properly.
It's a sign of the madness and the criminal violence of our society that it dictates whether or not we may experience the healing effects of this plant. It is an extraordinary thing to call the consumption of marijuana a crime. It is a victimless crime, if it's a crime at all. An individual alone in his or her own house, sampling a plant which has been with humanity since the beginning of time, for that to be called criminal is insane. We live in an insane society that believes it has a right to patrol even our consciousness, not only to tell us how to behave out there in public, but to tell us actually what to think and what to experience. And that's the main objection to marijuana by our government, is the effect that it has on consciousness. And they don't care that it is a fantastic pain reliever, which it is. They don't care about its wonderful medical properties. They just want to stop anybody experiencing these effects on consciousness. And no wonder our society is in such a mess, where we imagine we live in a democracy and yet elect governments that actually have the nerve to tell us what we may and may not experience inside our own heads without doing any harm to others. Governments know perfectly well that the rules that they have made, the misery that they inflict on people's lives, don't get rid of these problems. If we really want to solve the problem of drugs, we need to open up the whole issue to broad public discussion, and we have to accept and admit that certain plant products, such as these ancient hallucinogens that shamans use, are entirely beneficial in their interaction with the human race. This is what governments are afraid of. They are afraid of a citizenry that is fully conscious. They actually want us to be unconscious. They want us to simply focus on this alert, problem-solving, competitive mentality that makes us good consumers and good competitors in the business place. But they don't want us to explore the majestic and amazing depths of our consciousness, because then we just might start asking questions that would be very uncomfortable for the powers that be.
And so you begin to realize that when you scratch the mainstream religions, you get down to base ground before the money men and the bureaucrats stepped in and took it over. You find visionary experiences are at the heart of it. They're at the essence of it. And then later on, those visionary experiences become banned and illegal, and nobody's ever allowed to have them again. We already have laws in our society for punishing bad behavior. If somebody on drugs goes out and gets in somebody else's face and causes them trouble, we already have laws to deal with that. We don't need new laws that control our consciousness and rigidly place it in a prison and actually place us in prison if we explore
such an important point what you just said, that we already have laws to keep you from doing bad things.
Yes,
it's so important.
We don't, yeah.
It seems so logical. It's like so clear. If you can drink and not do anything bad, go drink.
Right. Exactly.
If you can smoke pot and not do anything bad to your fellow human,
go smoke pot. If that's what you want to do, if that's your adult decision, that's your choice. What does liberty mean if it doesn't mean that?
Sports. Till the day they die, they're watching sports. They're watching international corporations that own massive sports teams where guys are paid millions of bucks each per year for throwing or kicking a ball around. Something children do. Something you grow out of as you grow up. But there you are, suddenly you see yourself as a warrior for the weekend. What a joke. What a joke. Everyone's been manipulated by science and scientific indoctrination. Because in your own life, you have no power at all. Using a tribal system, we're all tribal to an extent. That's why we even bother to vote for a tribal leader. This is well understood. That's why we're supplied with these leaders. And because the average man was to become more disengaged from his own destiny as the expert class arose, it was decided that the males would get their outlet, basically, gradually becoming helpless as males through sports. Therefore, they'd have a tribal team they could identify with. They could cheer them on as they were winning. In their own personal lives, they were getting nowhere. They were getting disenfranchised, in a sense, as experts took over decision-making for them in all kinds of fields. So